Okay. YouTube, we might be live. There's likely going to be some audio lag. I'm here with Clayton. Dude, I've known you for years. Nienaber?
Just Clayton's cool.
Clayton, here with
I,
Clayton.
str- I struggle with it too because here in Australia, the Aussies go Nienaber,
Nienaber.
and then back
Yeah.
Nienaber, like Diba, Nienaber,
Ba,
and then
Nienaber.
yeah, and I'm not a sheep, so it's Nienaber.
Nienaber. So,
Yeah, it's more like German. There's a German background, whatever it is, but yeah,
so
just can the name, just Clayton's good.
randomness, man. How long had your family been in South Africa? Like generationally, do you know?
So I think it was in the 1670s. Some guys came across from Germany and landed in Port Alfred, which is really close to Jeffreys Bay.
Hmm.
And that was my first ancestor in South Africa.
Right
Yeah,
on. Guys,
cool.
sorry. I'll be with you fully in depthly in a minute. I'm making sure all this is working. All right, Clay, let's try to get this going on Instagram as well, dude. So everybody will properly get this going. If you're watching on YouTube and there's a sound delay, just type in the comments that there's a sound delay. It seems to be a bit funky at the moment, and then we'll get this going Instagram-wise, and then we'll start. Okay, live. Go live. Checking connection. I'm live. All right, let's see if I can invite Clayton. No viewers. So Clay, you got to head to my Instagram profile. All right, there we go. Invite, add.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're there. So do I turn the sound down now, or what do I do on that?
Turn the sound all the way down,
Yep.
and that's fine. And then just post it up to somewhere that you don't have to touch it. All right. Guys, Instagram, I don't know if the sound's funky. You can let us know. You can type in the comments. YouTube, again, you can type in the comments. There might be some funny lag with everything. Let me know. Again, like on our last live, it's incredible that tech-wise, we're even making this happen, especially for Clay. Um, so,
I'm so bad. Sorry.
like I was telling, we did the first live last week with Twiggy, and I was like, cool, man, we'll do it this afternoon. And assuming that this was going to take me like 10 minutes to set up, and like 5.5 hours later, I was like, Twiggy, it's not happening, dude. And then the following day. Anyways, so, so everyone that doesn't know, this is Clayton Nienaber, um,
Nienaber.
surf
I'm
coach.
Australian now, so you can call me Nienaber.
Fair dinkum, got the citizenship. Um, so world-renowned technique coach. We've been running trips now. I don't know what's it been like 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah, first one was 5 years ago. Yeah.
Probably about so. Yeah. And so today we've got a whole bunch of questions. We're going to talk some nonsense. We're going to go on some rants. So anybody, if you do have questions, you can post them on Instagram or YouTube. I'll try to keep an eye out, but we do have a long list of questions that people had asked already. And for anybody that doesn't watch all this, the replay will be on YouTube. So, dude, first thing that I want to know out of basic curiosity, that board you had just recently shaped for yourself that's going super well, you said it's no rocker or funny rails. What's up with it? Like the blue and gray one that you sent me a photo of.
So Greg Weber did a board for Kelly Slater, and he was surfing out at Debo, and I've always kind of liked where Kelly goes with these things. So had a look at it and made myself one, and I really enjoyed it. And the concept behind it is it's got straighter rails. So on the bottom turn, it accelerates really fast. Now the problem with the straight rails is they don't like turning much.
Yep.
So these boards have a lot of tail rocker, which actually helps them sit in the pocket, and it turns off that tail rocker. The rails aren't as round, they're a lot more sort of harder on the edges, so you get more speed, more drive, better turning. And it's just so much fun to ride something different that just goes so well. So,
and you're surfing it as a quad, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because it's so narrow, the board's like 17 3/4. the fin configuration is quite close together, as opposed to some of those short boards where they're really wide, like 20 wide, and the fins are really wide, and boards skate. This one's narrow, so it almost feels like you're riding a thruster. It doesn't feel weird at all.
You don't happen to have that board in that background somewhere, do you? That you can show it off, or is it in the car?
It's in the car, unfortunately. I had a surf this morning. You can see I'm looking all sunburnt and
How's
red-eyed.
how has it been up there, surf-wise?
Fun. We got some, like, probably 3-4 foot. Like, all the points are breaking. I actually surfed the artificial reef out at 21st Ave. It was pretty fun. Yeah, there's waves everywhere. Everyone's surfing. The water's warm.
What is the artificial reef? Like, how long has it been there? What's it made of?
It's been there for about a year and a half. Basically, out at Palmy, a lot of the sand was getting washed away, so they went and dumped a whole bunch of rocks out the back and created a reef as to break some of the energy before it washed in. And they decided to do a 2-for-1 and actually plan it as a bit of a reef. So we get some really nice right-handers coming off there.
Yeah. Right on, man. We surfed a frigid 1 foot mal day. It was fun. It was perfect. Like if it was a foot bigger and I had that board you're talking about, it'd be super fun. But Fiona found some old mals of hers from when she first learned, like 13 years old, and they still work, man. So that's all the surf we've had.
It makes you appreciate those surf trips when we go.
Dude, I'm talking to Twiggy and like what he's been getting up there. He said that little right-hander out back of his was like small Kira-esque for the last couple weeks after some big, yeah. So anyways, man. Anyways, so what's new in your world, man? I've seen on Instagram you're doing a heap of skate bowl training or coaching.
Chris, I've been working a lot on the online content.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of programs. So I've been doing programs on how to generate speed, how to fix your stance, how to work on your style, how to ride carver skateboards in the street, carver skateboards on the bowl. All of it, just one whole big program just to basically take people on their journey from even beginner surfers right through to like sort of good surfers, just trying to make them all-rounder. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a process though. It hasn't been easy.
Well, a process, man. Distilling down a coaching process, right? Like it's the working from an individual level, I think is easy because I see this in the gym settings as well. Like, because when you've got one individual in front of you, it's okay, this is where your starting point is, this is what you need to get to. But creating a full program can be a bit more difficult because it's got to be this sequential step-by-step process. And how do you kind of onboard everybody and then walk them through the development process? It ain't easy, man, especially when you're trying to teach something that is surfing.
Surfing's very feeling based, and it's almost like trying to tell someone what love feels like who's never been loved. It's just like, they say only a surfer knows the feeling, but if you haven't surfed and you haven't felt it and you're trying to get into it, you don't know the feeling, you don't know what it is. So you got to try and explain that to them, and it's been difficult, but we're getting there. So
I had a client. Yeah, no, I think all the programs that I've seen of yours and are available, like they're incredible. And I've seen them all firsthand implemented, the last couple of years on coaching trips. I think you raise a really good point about the feeling. I had a client hit me up about a week ago saying, hey, where can I read more about reading waves and choosing waves and like when to pop up appropriately? And what I conveyed to him was that you could go find all the blogs and read all the books, and you can get the analytical understanding of it, but that doesn't necessarily transfer because it's feeling. Like you have to firsthand feel and experience the process.
So I honestly, as a kid, I pulled out all of the surf magazines and surf tips, and I had a freaking journal, not a journal, what do you call it?
Like a notebook, a journal, a workbook?
Like an encyclopedia.
All right.
Just surf tips, and like I'd read them. There's like Damien Hardman on how to backhand turn, Tom Curran on how to surf with style, Kelly Slater on how to bottom turn and do this. But there's so much information that when you try to think about it all, you start using the left side of the brain, and it's just so much information that you actually just zone out and do nothing.
Yeah.
But if you just go along with feeling, your body understands feeling, and I don't know how it's wired, but you react so much quicker and faster, and also your body retains feeling. Like, whereas it doesn't retain all that information. So if you use the right side of the brain, the feeling, artistic side, your progression is so much quicker.
Yeah.
The left side, we just want to get all this information. It's kind of like trying to pour a whole lot of information into a tiny little hole at the bottom where only a little bit comes out, and it just gets clogged up, and you slow down.
Well, I think I had discussed this with Twiggy, and I actually spoke with a few clients recently as well, that there's been this whole boom in surf coaching the last decade, especially the last 5 years, right? And so everybody wants to know the next step and the next process and how you do this and how you do that, and that's all good. And again, you can explain the process, you can talk about leaning here, you can talk about rotating, but you can't think about those things necessarily in the moment, because surfing's reactive. And you've got to see and perceive and then react accordingly. So it's almost got to become habitual, the movement, the pattern. And so I think that's what is astoundingly impressive with like the Cardboard Surfer and the BOSU programs and the way you coach and the way it's implemented on trips, is that it has to be felt. And so through the whole Cardboard Surfer thing and all your skateboard training, it's getting people to feel, and that way they start to develop this physical understanding rather than, oh, well, he says at the bottom of the wave, I then need to turn and look up at 20 degrees and my back knee needs to fold in. It doesn't work, right? It needs to be felt.
Yeah. So I went and trained with this guy. His name was Michael, and he was a professional Muay Thai kickboxer training. And I didn't want to fight. I just want to learn how to have better technique. And because if you think about someone who's boxing or kickboxing, they need to implement technique, look for an opening while someone's trying to beat them up. It's so much more difficult than surfing, and your life's on the line. You're going to get like annihilated if you get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas surfing, you just flop into water and like, no big deal. So what it is with them is it's also feeling based. Like you could throw a punch, and if it's like a slap sound, it's not a very effective punch. But if it's a thud, it's a really, you can almost feel that echo through your bones. And it's the same with the kicks and the same with everything. It's that thud that you're looking for. So it's not like a loud bah, it's more like you punch through someone. And what he explained to me is that pretty much the more I twist, the more power I get. So I don't necessarily need to be as fast. I just need to be smoother and continue it through. So the more follow through I have, almost like a golf swing, the more power I have. Where I see a lot of people surf, they're wide up down the line and they just go, duh, really quick. And the spray goes up.
And they turn their head to look at their back foot to see their spray.
Yeah, so that like a golfer will look and swing and follow through.
Yeah,
These guys look the other way and go, turn down. Where you look at a guy like Parko or Taj Burrows, when they turn, they hold that rail turn forever, throwing buckets of spray, and it elicits a like, whoa, because that turn was so big. And all it is following through, taking tension out of the body and making it bigger and longer and more impressive.
And that's where, so for example, the skateboard training, like Twiggy and I were getting a lot of questions, and actually Twiggy says, what's up? Twiggy, what's up, bro? He says Clay's volume is a little low, so you need to speak louder or sit closer to your computer, Clay. But with one thing I find really good, like you and I had commented to Alicia in the Cardboard Surfer group that she just needs to stand taller and twist essentially more, like rotate, bring the hips around and everything. But I think that's one really good thing, is that these big twists and rotations and holding them, there's nowhere, if you take your average surfer, let's say a 40-year-old dude who's professional behind a desk often, nowhere in his life does he twist unless he's golfing or if he's doing some type of Muay Thai fighting or kicking or boxing or something. And so this rotation and the holding through, nobody ever does that in their life unless you're a surfer or a dancer or a gymnast. And so I think, again, it's this movement feeling. So they're going out there and quick, boom, boom, quick. and they've not held the turn. They haven't engaged a rail. So that's where these patterning drills on land, carver, skateboard, whatever it might be, starts to let them feel this process, and that's the way to then carry it to the water.
Yeah, 100%. What I want to say about Alicia is she thought by compressing it's going to make her a way better surfer.
Mm.
But in normal life, we'll only compress before we say walk upstairs
Yep.
or jump up something. We won't stay compressed like a loaded spring throughout the whole day and then go to bed and just decompress on the bed.
Mm.
So basically, if you compress through your entire wave, your body's under stress. Whereas if you stand up taller, you start to relax your muscles, and then you can actually use your muscles for better rotation.
Yeah.
So if you are compressed, it's very, very hard to then rotate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the decompressing, it's the standing up straighter and stacking all your joints so that you can twist. So if you look at a golfer, if he wants to hit a ball, he won't compress really hard and then try to hit a ball.
No.
There's that extension for the compression. So a lot of people think, oh, I just got to load up and push really hard and compress. You only compress for a few seconds before you extend, before you do the turn.
The compression's just the loading to then unload. That like little whoop, it's that little momentum generator. Where instead of being super low, compressed, that's only half of them. So what I start to look at like surfing a lot is if you've got a spring that can also coil, and it's always a bunch of this going on, just in terms of interacting with the wave at the right time. It's not compress and just stay there and twist. It's compress, unload, twist, compress again, unload. So it's this vertical, up, down, and rotational.
So this is a really big breakthrough that I've had with guys over the last couple of years with coaching. It's a common mistake that some people make, is when they want to do a turn, they try amp up the energy and the output for their turn. So if you could do that turn with the least amount of energy possible, the more flow and the better the turn looks. Whereas if you overshoot it, you're going to displace water, you're going to have a later reaction. So it's kind of like if you and I had a fight and I beat you with the least amount of effort possible, that means I'm getting closer towards mastery.
Yeah.
But if I have to like slug it out and I can't beat you and it's backwards and forwards and all that kind of stuff, I'm not really a good fighter. So the more effortless you make your turn, the better the turn is, the more flow you have, the more spray you throw, and the better you surf.
I think it alludes to like a big misconception of people always thinking they need to push harder and stomp on the bottom turns and push harder through turns, where it's like you're trying to just interact with this water that's just giving you all the energy you already need. You just have to coordinate with it, and that's through where you talk about leaning, compression, and twisting, and it's just coordinating those to work with the wave rather than trying to stomp it and push through and smash.
Okay, so let's talk about board design. You have a surfboard that's designed and it's got to do two things. It's got to hold off the bottom and it's got to release off the top. So those are two completely different movements.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way you can achieve that is by two different techniques. So if you ride a bicycle fast, you got to lean to turn it. If you ride a bicycle slowly, you'll twist to turn it.
Yep.
So those are two different techniques. So if you drop into the wave, you want to lean. By leaning, you'll get the hold and the speed that you want to do your top turn. But then because you're going up vertically, you're losing some speed. You got to then twist to come back down.
Yeah.
So on the bottom turn, if you ride a bicycle and you're leaning, that's a gentle move.
Gentle.
It's subtle.
Yeah.
But the top turn is when you can power out and push the back foot to get the tail to release and to come around. A lot of people don't understand the difference between a lean and a twist.
Yes.
When to do which. So they do the wrong turn at the wrong time. Then some of them like twist off the bottom, the tail almost slides out. Then they go to the top and they lean and fall over backwards. And then they go, oh, I've got the wrong fins and my board sucks because it catches rail. It's all technique.
Well, I think that goes into one of the questions that you got for the fella asking about back foot pressure. And there was another guy that had emailed me even an article. He's in the Cardboard Surfer program. For everybody that doesn't, we keep referencing Cardboard Surfer. If you go into my Surf Athlete app, you can download the free version. Clayton has one of his coaching programs for sale within that app, and it's the Cardboard Surfer. And so we can talk about that in more detail, but we keep alluding to it. So, guy asked about back foot pressures, and I think it's a good segue into the question that we got asked because it's one that you're going to get all the time, and most people are confused about it. And again, I think there's been a lot of perhaps misinformation, but like you allude to, the pressures need to happen at the right times on the wave. And people need to understand that it's not just only back foot or only front foot. There's an alteration of pressures, but getting used to using front foot pressure is what most surfers need to start getting accustomed to. Would you agree with that partially?
Um, yeah, I agree, but I got a little bit lost even trying to hear what you're saying. So let's try to simplify that a hell of a lot. A lot of people, when they put back foot pressure, they almost stand and lean back.
Yes.
But they're trying to go forward, so the nose almost starts standing out and the board wants to slide out. So think about if someone wanted to kick a soccer ball. You almost lean in, you stand on the front foot and you kick a ball.
Yep.
And even if you throw a punch, you balance on the front foot and you throw your punch. And if you hit a golf club, you'll balance on the front foot and you'll twist. So when I say that I want more front foot pressure, all I'm asking the person to do is to maintain good balance on the front foot before they twist, rather than leaning back and then the board wants to shoot out.
Yes.
So yes, you do push on your back foot when you surf. However, you need to be stacked and balanced on that front foot.
Yes.
In order to maintain balance throughout the whole turn.
No, I think that's clear. It's clear for me. It's gonna still be unclear, I think, for a lot of people until it's felt. And I wish there was one fella in particular, I think his name was Adam. He was at Macaroni's with us. He was the good longboarder and had recently transitioned to shorter boards. And he was one of the last coaching groups at Macca's. And he was a good surfer, but you could see all of his turns were real super heavy back foot turns still. And I know everybody, if they go out to their local break, what they'll see is they'll see guys come up, they'll do a turn, and then when they go all back foot pressure, so they burn off all speed and the whole front of the board lifts out of the water, and they, instead of doing some big wrap around woo like Parko fanning thing, it's this little push back heavy, the whole board's out, they've just lost all speed, and then they have to like do something. Exactly. I think that's the big distinction people need to understand between back foot, front foot thing. You're not saying only do one or the other. You're saying that there's
also another big difference that people don't get between pros surfing and pushing on the back foot as opposed to an intermediate surfing.
Yes.
So when a pro surfs, they're almost sideways on that wave. They're not standing on the board.
Yep.
They're actually weightless.
Yep.
And when they press, that board actually takes them around to the pocket. But intermediates and beginners, they surf flat, and when they press, they actually put the brakes on. They get a direction change, but they stop. Now they've got to bounce to get going again. So the big difference is the pros are not standing on their board. The pros are weightless. The same as when someone rides a bicycle, they lean, they get weightless, and when they top turn and twisting, they're still weightless.
Yes.
So surfing a much more critical part of the wave, and although they're pushing on the back foot, they're not standing on the board. So the board turns and accelerates. They don't lose speed.
I think that is a brilliant distinction for people that are arguing the back foot, rear foot thing, is to understand the difference between vertical in the pocket surfing and horizontal mid-face surfing. That then will largely differentiate the pressures required and where on the boards and what. Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. That's probably one of the most clear ways I've heard you kind of elaborate on that one. Well done, Clay. Well done, bro.
So, I mean, I've been scratching my head over this for the last 15 years, trying to explain concepts to people.
Yeah.
So one thing that I do make people do, and I've actually done a whole course around it called the Waterman course, I make people go body surf before they even surf. So they've got to learn how to interact and lean into that power of the wave. Because if you body surf flat, you'll just get washed to the flat of the wave. But if you lean, the wave can lift and pull you along.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to introduce people into leaning and body surfing. And then before they even surf, I give them a bodyboard, and they look at me going, "Oh, are you kidding?" And then if you bodyboard flat, you just slide down the wave. But if you go on rail and lean,
yes,
yeah, you get purchase on the rail and you can get some speed and drive. It's kind of like someone snowboarding. If you snowboarded flat, you'd slip, but if you're on edge, you can actually
it'll
drive.
hold. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's introducing people to actually surf on their rails and not to stand on their board and be flat. You're only ever flat through a transition. But most people surf majority 90% flat, and then they go on rail for like a small transition.
Small.
So it's got to be the other way around, yeah.
They surf
You wanna
flat
surf
and
rail to
heavy.
rail.
Yeah, flat and heavy,
Yeah.
where it needs to be on rail and light.
Yes.
Going back to that kind of spring, compress, release, and then interact with the wave in the like positions and pockets where it gives you opportunity.
That's why our course is so good. So the stuff that we're talking about, the information is there. So we explain all the concepts to you where it makes sense.
Yeah.
But then we also teach you how to feel it outside of the water through like Bosu balls, carvers, skateboards, cardboard sliding, all those weird and wonderful technique drills that we do to simulate surfing. You get a feel for it. And then when you try that in the water, that's when you see the results.
Yes. I think that brings up, somebody had asked a question like what the cardboard thing is about, because they kept seeing me post about cardboard slides and you talk about cardboard, and what it is this cardboard surfer program. Again, guys, you plug it, shameless plug, you can go buy it right now in the Surf Athlete app or on my website, and Clay's Amonzi website will be out soon. What I see is the cardboard surfer program, and mind you, like, I've seen you kind of evolve this thing over the past couple years and see how it's been implemented and used by people. It helps people start to learn like surf fundamentals 101. So like often on our coaching trips, we'll get guys that claim to be intermediate surfers, and some of them are solid surfers. A lot of the intermediates, like, they still haven't grasped any of these fundamental 101 things. And I think that's what your cardboard program really helps people to start to do, is just to start feeling positions and weighting and unweighting and all these, again, these fundamental things that they then have to carry over to their actual time on top of the surfboard.
I'm going to go back to kickboxing there, and there's, again, this friend of mine, Michael, who helped me, and I'm really, really stoked for what he did. He would stand away from me, and I'd have to jump and lunge and throw a jab at him.
Mm-hmm.
And to train that, he actually got me on an old skateboard deck on the grass, and I actually tried to slide across to him.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where the whole sort of concept of the cardboard surfer, I had to coordinate my movements from point A to point B. Mm. And when I started doing that, I was paddling out and seeing people in the water. And if you've ever been to a used car dealership, they've got this like balloon man that's just like blowing in the wind. Okay, a lot of people take off, yeah, and they're just going down the line, and the hands are all over the place, and it's just like, whoa, that looks disgusting.
Yeah.
And then those guys see themselves on camera, and they're like, oh, is that me? I'm like, yeah. And then you see someone like a Craig Anderson or a Tom Curran or someone just real nice and smooth with their movements. So pretty much we're trying to teach the correct coordination done smoothly with the right amount of effort and with the right amount of energy.
Mm-hmm. And that goes into the point when we were going over questions before we hopped on here, the guy talking to you about not necessarily buying a new top-of-the-line surfboard to figure shit out, because you're bringing your same crappy habits to $1,000 high-performance surfboard where you could just be at home on a Bosu or a piece of cardboard figuring out how to coordinate the body so the surfboard can actually do what it's designed to do.
So I kind of call it like the Cinderella's magic slipper effect. So imagine if you and I had never run a marathon and we're going to do a 50-kilometer marathon. So we don't do any training at all. The only thing we do is go buy a brand new pair of Nikes thinking, okay, this is going to help me run better.
Yeah.
All the runners would laugh at me. I have to get through mental barriers, physical barriers, cramp, whatever it is, to be able to do that. So likewise with surfing, just by getting a brand new board, the chances of that being your magic carpet ride to make you understand and to give you enlightenment, it's not really going to happen.
No.
You have to go through the process of learning how to move your body, moving it too much and falling off, moving it not enough and doing a shitty turn, and then moving it just right where it feels effortless.
Mm.
Um, and that's why you can see good surfers who understand that. They can ride anything. They can make a single fin work, jump onto 20 and make a draft, jump onto a quad and fly through barrels, and then surf a onshore beachy and with a thruster and crack it.
Yep.
And go right along the water on a point.
Yeah.
So once you understand how this works, you can use it to do anything.
Figuring out the movement. And again, like if you're coming to surfing at a later stage in life, you're going to bring whatever movement you're accustomed to your surfing. So like we talk about the desk workers and the crab surfing and the poo man surfing, or you can always figure out who was a good snowboarder in the surf because people are bringing whatever patterns they've already built or accustomed to on top of their surfboard. So a lot of improving somebody's surfing is unraveling the bad stuff, the bad patterns, and then get them to start feeling the new patterns.
Yeah, so if you go into the whole mind side of it, pretty much when we come to a new sport, we bring our history. And it might not be the right sort of program for what we need, but our mind just dives into our history and goes, surfing, okay, we'll take some snowboarding stuff and just shove it into there.
Yeah.
And it's only when we train up new history can we actually dive into the history and then apply that to the present.
That's brilliant. Yeah. You bring to your surfing what you've become to know. And so get on a piece of cardboard and improve your surfing.
Create some history.
Yeah. So Bjorn, we're going to get a couple questions. Bjorn from our Cardboard Surfer group. And I like this one. He asked for some general tips on how to practice the new skills that he's learning in the water. So the new skills from the Cardboard program. He says, it seems like if I try to focus on a skill, his surfing goes to shit and he can't even replicate some of the cardboard feelings. But if he focuses on nothing, the magic can happen. So I think this is a really good starting point for people to understand the process of applying these things to the water and all the mental bullshit we bring to the process of improving our surfing. So
just because just because he has a new trick, it doesn't mean that he can apply it to the wave all the time, every time.
Yes.
So every wave is different. It's kind of like people are different. So imagine if I have one joke, I could tell it to 10 people. It doesn't mean that all 10 will love it.
It's not going to hit every time.
Correct. So you need to get a feel for that wave. And when you get a feeling for the right time, then when you apply it, it's going to work brilliantly.
Yes.
But if you don't get a feeling for it and you try to apply it at the wrong time, it's like me cracking a joke at a funeral. Do you think it'll go down well? Definitely the wrong time.
Wrong time, wrong place.
Correct. So you need to get a feeling for it.
No, I think that's a really good point because he goes up to ask, hey, I guess uploading a video to look at it would be pushing it. But in the sense it would be useful because you'd then be able to see, is he even in the right part of the wave at the right time to apply whatever it is he's trying to apply. And then I think the mental aspect is really good about, because we deal with this on coaching trips daily. Like Kathy Curcio had just messaged me the other day alluding to this as well, that whenever she really starts trying and getting frustrated, her surfing goes to shit. Same that Bjorn says, like there's this process of applying new things in the water. And like we talk about on the surf coaching trips, a lot of your sessions should be based around fun and play. And there should only be like maybe an hour out of the day where you are focused, I am trying to do this, this is what I'm trying to work on. It's the psychology behind trying to get better at your surfing.
So that's why with all of my coaching, I've almost started to change it, and I do most of my coaching out of the water. So hence the cardboard surfer, the Bosu ball training, the carver on the street, carver on the ramp, all those things I've done out of the water.
Yep.
It's like a boxer learning how to hit a bag with all of these techniques. And only when you go and spar or have a fight do you actually start to put everything together.
Yeah.
And have fun doing it. Like if you fall off, it's not the end of the world. The more you fall, the more you learn from it. So it's important that you do fall. And
like, you know, we talk about surfing. You need to be light and reactive. And with your surfing, if you are trying to be too focused and hard on yourself and you're starting to get frustrated, those things aren't light. They're not fun, and they're going to inhibit the process of learning. So I think there really needs to be this ebb and flow of at times really kind of, maybe if it's only 30 minutes, okay, the next 3 waves, I'm going to really focus on this one thing, and then for the rest of the surf. And it's usually in the rest of the surf where it's just fun that those light bulbs really start to kind of click.
So Chris, what I feel is that people go into the water with really high expectations, and when they don't meet those expectations, that's when there's pressure, frustration, and the sessions turn to shit.
Yeah.
So if you're just present in the water and the wave comes to you, it's like the wave's a gift. So just enjoy that energy that the wave's giving you. And if you do feel that the timing's right to try something, try it, and you'll probably get a really good feeling from the sensation.
Right.
But if you're frustrated, all of the feeling and the sensations that you get, they get muted where you don't feel anything. And that's not going to help. It's like when boxers fight or anyone fights, you try and piss off the other guy. So all he feels is frustration. So he doesn't know when to use his technique or anything.
Yep. No, I think that's a really valid point. You got any questions that really hit like that you want to really address? I know you got a good list, and there'd be a few that probably popped at you that you'd really like to chat about. So before I get into my list, go for it.
Yeah, okay. So a guy by the name of Shane messaged me and said, when he does his frontside cutback, how can he put more pressure on the heel or concentrate on the heel positioning to help him do a better cutty? And it is a good question. The thing that you got to concentrate on is looking where you're going. It's super important to actually see the target that you want to hit.
Right.
A lot of people go into a real big turn and they just put so much heel pressure, but they forget to look. So the turn actually becomes like 1, 2, 3 stage turn. However, if you're looking where you go, you'll know how much pressure to sort of, and you can change the pressure through the turn because you can adjust by looking where you need to go.
Yep.
And again, I'm going back to riding a bicycle. If you ride a bicycle, you'd turn looking where you go, and you can start to adjust how much leaning you're doing or how little leaning you're doing. So looking is the key, but just by throwing heel pressure at it, you're probably not going to get it right.
Yeah, I think it's looking and seeing and then reacting to as you need. But if you're not actually looking and perceiving, you're not. So this is my ramble, but people, I think, keep looking at surfing and trying to have definitive answers, but you can't have a definitive answer because the wave is always going to be offering you something different. And so you have to be able to react to it. And the only way you can react to it is if you're actually looking, which is a twist. So if you look and twist and perceive what's happening as you go through it, you can react a bit better and adjust and heel pressure or not, rather than just thinking, this turn I'm going to drive my heel harder and push through the turn harder.
It sounds complicated, but we already do this in everyday life. So again, if we're riding a bicycle, we are feeling the moment that we're in, but looking towards the next. So a lot of people, when they surf, they try to do the turn in this moment and not look to where they're going. So the timing's out between those. Right. So even if you're driving a car, you look, okay, I got to turn to there. So I kind of turn the steering wheel and I'm looking and I'm gauging it. This feeling of turning, but anticipating where I'm going. A lot of people don't. They're stuck in that moment. But your wave's actually moving, so that moment's continually changing. So you got to look and perceive how everything's unfolding.
And then the trial and error of when you can do what on a wave. Like what is the shape? Is it giving you enough pressure to kind of dig into some heavier turns, or is it a softer wave and you just need to be lighter and kind of twist a bit softer? Again, it's got to be kind of reactive and perceived. So
if you had to wrestle my son, he's a skinny twig. He probably weighs 35 kilograms. So you weighing 75, you wouldn't just go full at him and start beating him up. No. You'd start crying. The game would be over. So instinctively, if he pressed against you, you would feel that power and kind of try and match that. So if you surfed a smaller, weaker wave, you wouldn't just try to overpower it because you would destroy the energy that's trying to lift and push you along. So you need to tone your power down and work with it and match it.
Yes.
However, in bigger waves, yes, you can push as hard as you want. The wave will keep pushing you back. So you do adjust your technique and your pressure on all those turns.
I think There was a while back, somebody once again had asked about back foot pressure, and you had made a comment, something along the lines of, because they had posted a photo as well, or a video, and it was talking about back foot pressures, and it was a Hawaiian wave, like, and so all these talks about pressures and harder turns or bigger turns, again, it needs to take into context the actual wave. And if you're in some heavy Indo or Hawaiian wave, you can push into that fucking thing as probably as hard as you can, bog or burn off all your speed, and it's still going to give you all the speed back you need. So if you then talk about heel pressures on some small little 2-foot weak beach break, the big heavy heel foot pressure and conversation is kind of out the door, because it's a completely different wave that needs to be more softly approached and more kind of coordinated in easier fashion.
So there's a well-known worldwide saying, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. So on your bottom turn, you want to be light because you're trying to lift up the wave.
Yep.
But on the top turn, that's where you twist and you throw your bucket of spray. So it's weighting and unweighting.
Yep.
Trying to get that right. A lot of people want to sting on the bottom turn, sting on the top turn, and just push. And those are the guys that are very stop-start. They can't surf small waves.
No flow
They
to
get
it.
frustrated. They get bogged down. They get more volume. They get wider boards, thicker boards, bigger fins. And in actual fact, it's just if they train their bodies to be a lot lighter on their feet, the same way a heavyweight boxer would have to skip to get lighter. All of these things that you can do to make yourself a bit more sort of out of the water rather than sinking into the water.
Well, talk about being light. You know, you talk about all the adults you get onto a trampoline, and it's just looks ridiculous. Like, it's just the coordination of learning how to be light again, and to hop, and to jump, and to again.
So the scary thing is that older people, and I'm talking about maybe people that just spend too much time working hard, forget how to play.
Yeah.
So I'll make them jump on a trampoline. They've forgotten how to move. The coordination's gone. It's kind of like the bottom half of their body does not talk to the top half.
Yeah.
So they just like they're at odds and they're fighting each other. And then in the water, again, the bottom half does not talk to the top half. So it's like they're twisting in two different directions. However, when you coordinate, everything's smooth and seamless.
Yeah. Like the Rob Machado video that you always show of him on the Go Fish board, where it's just light and easy and coordinated and directionally intended, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Cool. Here's a question for you. A bit of talk about fins. He's 80 kilograms. Some people have suggested for him to use medium FCS2s. What do you think? Now, that's a really loaded question. So maybe give people a quick 10,000 foot overview of your take on fins.
Okay, so if you were to ride really small, weak waves, the waves don't have push, which means that you're not going to get speed from the waves, so you've got to generate it from yourself. Because you're not going fast, you can't put the board on rail, so you're going to be surfing it flatter.
Right.
So you want to ride bigger fins in smaller waves, so that when you do a twist, the fin actually displaces water and gives you drive. So like if you're at a big twin fin and that weak wave, you generate so much speed from that bigger fin. Now, if you were to go surf bigger, more powerful waves, and you took out your bigger wave board that has more rail length, because you're going faster, your board stiffens up because you're trying to displace more water that travels under the board when you turn.
Yeah.
Also, because you're riding a longer board, it's harder to turn. So by putting smaller fins on your bigger boards, if it's a bigger board shape, that will enable that bigger board to come around. And because your bigger board has more rail, you don't need that big fin. Because you're not trying to generate drive, you're actually trying to just control the turn. You'll then be able to turn comfortably. A lot of people make the mistake of putting big fins on their big wave boards, and the board just goes straight and they can't turn it, they face plant. So they lose control over that board.
Yeah. It reminds me of Twiggy often talking about surfing even small size fins on some of his boards, because it just makes him surf accurately. Like, it makes him surf the way the board is kind of designed to, rather than just shoving through things and forcing through things. Because for a while, like me coming from a strength and conditioning background, like and you would like I always just tried to surf too heavy. So I always kept surfing large fins because on my mediums I would just throw them out because I'm just trying to shove and push through turns rather than lightly twisting and reacting and letting the surfboard do the surfing and the rails rather than just wah, pushing through.
Yeah. So you know what happens when we first learn to surf? We're riding foamies and we learn how to surf flat.
Mm.
And because we never got speed, we're always using the twist to turn. Okay. And then some people never actually progress to actually leaning. They always surf flat. And on a bigger wave, when they're going fast and they try to twist, the board slides out. So then they go and get bigger fins to stop that sliding out.
Yeah.
So had they learned to lean and utilize the rail and not stand on the board wouldn't slide out. Now, if you think of other sports like bodyboarders, they don't have fins, but they get on rails, they don't slide out. Wakeboarders go way faster than surfers, and they get on rail, and the board doesn't slide out.
Right.
So if you surf on rail, it's the correct way to surf, and then you won't need to use the fins nearly as much. Because your board's on rail, the fin's not in the water, so you actually get more speed and more drive. But when your board's flat and your fins are in the water, they cause drag and they slow you down.
Cool. Yeah, I'm down with that. I think that's pretty well covered, man. If you don't have anything to add, why don't you find yourself another question, and I'm going to scroll through Instagram and see if there's some good questions in there.
Yeah, so a customer, someone by the name of Field Producer, says that when they're riding carver skateboards, he feels that he can really feel like turning his hips. He gets a lot more turning out of the board. But I think he suggested that he was having a hard time transferring that riding the surf skateboard using the hips into the water. And I'd probably say if it's not transferring into the water, you probably find that your back foot's maybe at a different angle to the front foot, and it's locking up that hip. So what's happening is that the top half of the body is moving independently of the bottom half,
Right.
and they're not moving together.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same as someone going for a run. The knees and the elbows will point in the same direction when you're running.
Yeah.
But if they're pointing in opposite directions, like a duck, really hard to run that way.
Yeah.
So to unlock that hip to get it to move, you kind of want to point your knees where you're going and have those feet at maybe 45 as opposed to like one at 90 or at 90 degrees, kind of like that.
Yeah. I was doing an online consult yesterday morning with a fella, and he wanted help with his pop-up. And so he sent a few videos from Costa Rica, and every one of his pop-up is kind of crab poo manish. And so all I had him initially do was practice a golf swing. I had him stand up, practice your golf swing, because he didn't have a golfer as well. And then I had him just turn his feet in opposite directions and practice his golf swing, and then turn kind of similar direction golf swing. And he's like, oh, yeah. And they're like, look at your surfing and look at your back foot. And then it was working the pop-up to get into better foot position, everything heading directionally in the way it wants to go, because then you can coordinate the hips and the twist and the shoulders and the head and everything else in the direction.
So Chris, I know we have a lot of programs out there, but this is what's so vital about the programs that we sell, is that it's sometimes a simple explanation for that light bulb moment, like, oh shit, so that's what I need to do. But if they've trained it wrong, it takes something like 300 repetitions to make a new movement and 10,000 to break that bad habit to retrain a new one. So what we try to do is to educate, demonstrate so that they can go there and replicate and do it correct.
Yeah. And like all your analogies, your movement analogies to other things people already know in life, it's gold because, again, they already know how to do the movements. Like you talking about turns, just throw your Frisbee or throw your rugby ball. Like, what do you call it? Do you call it? Pass your beer, exactly. It's movements that they already know how to do. They're just kind of misconstruing it in their surfing.
Well, the body moves well in a certain way, and all I'm trying to do is to try to get that body to move the same way, where it just makes sense.
Yeah, certainly. Some comments on Instagram. Best surfers I know in Hawaii all started bodyboarding from Performance First. Yeah, like I think most really good surfers had this expansive background of being in the water. It's bodyboarding, it's bellyboarding, it's free diving. It's this kind of across the board water interaction.
So what it is there's, for some reason, the level of comfort on a bodyboard, it's way higher. Whereas on a surfboard, you might think, oh, it's hard, it might hurt me, or something like that. So on a bodyboard, you can spend a lot more time in the barrel. Plus, because almost submersed in the water, you get a lot more feeling for the energy and the power. So you end up getting a better feel for the energy and the wave and the power zones.
The intensities.
So
yeah.
So you learn how to tap into that from a younger age, because it's a lot more intrinsic. The people that don't do it, they tend to just want to surf on above the water. They don't know how to get into it and start to feel it. It's
that example that I think you and I have spoken about before, maybe Twiggy and I did, of, you know, guys on our trips where we see them about to get the barrel of their life potentially, and then they just eject out because suddenly they're in the intensity of a wave that they've never kind of experienced before, and so they just bail. Whereas had they done more bodyboarding, done more boogie boarding, body surfing, they're used to being right beside it. Their face is right beside it. They're looking at this thing and feeling the intensity of it, rather than, like you said, on top, mid-face, 3 meters out in front of the pocket.
Again, I've done a whole course around that whole thing, just making people body surf, and it sounds crappy having to take a few steps back, but it can actually be a load of fun actually trying to bodyboard just shore breaks. Like, every bad wave's a good wave. If you're bodyboarding, getting barreled, or you're body surfing, it's so much fun.
Jakey the Snaky, playing around with foot position makes you surf the wave differently. Clay, can you elaborate on it? Foot position changing the way you can surf a wave.
Yeah, I had a guy saying, how can I stick my back foot more, like right on the kicker, so I can surf better?
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, you don't want to do that. Because if my foot's right on the kicker, the board's almost doing this. How are you going to get any speed? So that's like, okay, imagine telling skateboarders, if you want to drop into a skate ramp, you need to put your back foot right on the kicker, so like you almost go down every skate ramp that way. What you need to do is you need to center your weight more over the front foot by having more balance on the front foot. And bear in mind, the widest part of the surfboard is the center part of the board. So that's where you get the most balance from. So stack your weight there. By doing that, you can actually change your back foot position to whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you move it more forward, you're going to get more speed and drive. Move it more back, you're going to get more ability to pivot and turn. But the front foot's not going to move.
Yep.
A lot of people make the mistake of locking the back foot, and then they can't move at all. The back foot has to shift and move around. The toes got to step on, the heel's got to lift off, the toes got to lift off. Like, the back foot is continuously lifting and moving.
It cracks me up how often, when it's either alluded to on the trips or even like with online clients, when we talk about people, you can move your back foot, and they're like, what? Like, and you can roll up onto the toe, the heel can come off, you can move it forward, you can move it backward, and suddenly people are like, it should be easily like you said, front foot keep pretty much stable, and the back foot is going to change your ability to accelerate, your ability to then turn. You need to come up onto the toe to engage toe side rail, like in a barrel position. Like, I'm surprised how rigid people are, or how unaware people are of the need, essentially, to be able to move that back foot around, to keep it mobile and moving around.
Yeah, like, so many people say, can you do that? It's like, is it legal? I'm like, hell yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Yeah. No.
I had a guy, I think it was Nicola or something, the message came up.
Yeah.
But we get this often. She says, the person said, how can I get a stand-up barrel? How often do we get this on the trips?
So like at Macaroni's, right? First night, okay, what do you guys want to do? I want to get barreled. Like, all right.
Yeah. And then you see the guys on a perfect wave, and they dive awful when the barrel comes. So again, it's the level of comfort. If you can go out there and you can swim in the water and actually body surf, and spend time in the barrel and get dumped and come out laughing and smiling, and then bodyboard like Jamie O'Brien does at Park and get dumped and come out laughing. By the time you're on your surfboard, you've spent so much time inside of a barrel that you're comfortable. So I can tell you the shortcuts. If you want to get barreled, stick your ear on it, so that you're leaning into it. Pretty much that's how you do it.
Yep.
But if you're too uncomfortable to actually, when you inside that wave, to put your ear on that wave and just get real close to the wall, you're never going to be able to get barreled.
And it's this first person perception. Remember when you and I at Macca's had talked about if we get a big like solid day, we should film from inside the barrel even because people suddenly they see this first person perspective of what they need to see happening down the line. Like, holy shit, look at this thing drawing off the reef. Look at this thing standing up. And to them, yeah, we're like, fuck yes, this is about to happen. And then for those that haven't been there before, they're like, nah, I'm out. They're like, this ain't happening. Like, and so, they say I want to get barreled. It's where are you at with your surfing, but more, what are you accustomed to seeing? What have you experienced firsthand? Are you even perceiving what it is you need to see on the wave to actually get barreled and see it and not just freak out and bail?
You ever been driving your car and you've got to overtake and you think it's clear, but suddenly another car comes and like, oh shit,
Yeah.
Do I brake or do I go it? And you go and you just get in, you're like, your heart's going like, and you're like, oh, you're shaking, and like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but I'm alive and I made it. And like, oh, and you feel like that's what a barrel's like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the guys who aren't getting barreled are like, nah, I'll go back.
Yeah.
So it's that risk that you kind of have to take, and there's a reward at the end of it. So you have to be comfortable enough to take that risk.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people first starting to try, you need to be a bit selective about the wave you're even trying to get barreled on, Like if it's your first time ever and we're surfing some like shallow reef break in Indo, maybe it's not the best time to start really trying because you're going to eat it. I ate it a lot. I still eat it a lot. And so occasionally come out and get lucky, but Cool. Anthony Lay Speaker on Instagram, new online program. So I have been laboring away at Clay's new Bosu program and your Surfskate program. So those will be out soon, hopefully within the next week. Clay, when's your website going to be up?
So we've got all the programs on the website, and the website's called Amanzi Surf. We're just trying to get the framework right, so I think about a week, and we'll have all of these programs up on the website.
Yep, cool.
It's a bigger endeavor. Like I said, we've got a good couple of hours of surf videos, and it's all about the editing and putting it together so that it tells the correct story.
Yeah. But
we've got tons of good content for people to go through and for drills for them to do. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Give us about a week.
Cool. I got a good question for you. Would it be too much to ask about transitioning to a shortboard with less volume? What does it take to be more fit to compensate with the reduced volume, and how should I train? I would say before anything about training, it's about being able to read a wave. It doesn't take intensity and like higher levels of fitness suddenly. It just takes you to be able to read a wave and where you need to take off.
So Chris, you sound like me, but now I'm going to sound like you.
Yeah, okay.
All
right.
You need to have a really good posture in the water
to
be able to paddle a low volume board. So you almost got to arch your back and have your like fully arched. So if your board's a banana shape, you almost got to be like a banana as well to be able to paddle it well.
Mm-hmm.
If you just flop and you're not going to paddle like left, right, you're never going to catch waves. So in order to paddle well, it's more about your posture. And Chris, you could tell me what it is where you have to kind of arch. Is it the Superman you do and stuff?
Yeah, any of the Cobras, anything to build that extension, that postural spinal extension endurance.
Yeah, because that way when you paddle, you actually create lift. When you paddle straighter, you don't yawn and go left and right.
Yeah.
People who have their heads down tend to paddle into the water.
Yeah.
With the head up, you tend to glide through the water.
It's a good question. It's from Isle of Swell. It's a good question because I think it's a big misconception because you see the opposite happening of older dudes going to way more volume because they've lost their fitness, and people assuming to go to a lesser volume board suddenly need to like have way more paddle fitness. Yes, there's basic fitness that needs to be in place. Like again, posture, you got to have some endurance around the shoulders, but it's not like you suddenly need to be intensely more stronger all of a sudden. You just need to be, like you said, good posture, good alignment, and being able to pick and choose. If you can just more precisely put yourself in the right pocket of that wave to take off, it's all good. It's easier on a less volume board.
So what you mentioned there is stress management. So a lot of people on short boards feel uncomfortable. So they want to ride a longer board so they can sit potentially out of the impact zone and on the shoulder, where it's hard to catch waves, and then paddle
Yeah.
a high volume board to take off on a softer, easier part of the wave.
Yes, yes.
So they're uncomfortable trying to take off in the correct part of the wave. If you're comfortable with that, you can ride a shortboard because the wave actually helps you to catch the wave.
Gives you all the energy you need. On Instagram, Instagram's about to turn off in a minute. You guys can go cruise over to YouTube. The full video will be there. We'll still be live for a little while. Thanks for joining in on Instagram. And again, you can get Clay's programs on his website, also within my app. Cool. Yeah, so I think back to that about the shortboard. Yeah, you'll see people go to a less volume board and they think they need to be way stronger paddler because they're trying to take off at the wrong part of the wave, the weak part of the wave, the flat part of the wave that they're used to.
It's like, Chris, it's a common trend that I see at the moment where people go for shorter boards. So the reason why you want to go for a shorter board is to have better turning. So yes, they reduce the board length, but they still keep the boards really wide.
Yeah.
Now, a wide board does not want to turn.
No.
And they keep the board thick so they can paddle better. And those thick boards do not want to turn. So if you've got a really wide board, if you try to lean, the board just keeps wanting to go flat. And when you try to lean to turn, you've got to displace all the water under that board. So a slightly narrower board will turn easier. Also, if your rail's too thick because you've got extra buoyancy, you try to lean, you try to push that rail into the water, it just pops back up.
Yeah.
So some of those boards that the guys are riding are not the right boards. They're actually working against their technique than rather working for their technique.
Dude, you must see that statement, people on boards working against their technique. You must see that like 75 or more % of the time. People coming to get some coaching from you.
Yeah. I go, so what made you buy that board? Oh, the volume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the thing I make them do is I go, okay, please swim out and body surf a wave. And I said, how much volume do you need for that? None. Was it difficult? Nah. So I said, well, why do you need so much volume on the board? So I can catch waves easier. But there you sat in the right place and you effortlessly caught a wave without a board. So it's more about technique. It's not about volume.
Cool. Next question. What do you got? We have a list of questions, man. I'm going to let you rant on that question for a minute because I've got to put something into my phone about Instagram. So yeah, rant and rave on a question. I'll join back in.
All right. So Danny said, how not to catch a rail while doing a bottom turn and pumping. So Danny, you probably find that on your bottom turn, you're just powering up and pushing so hard. So I think you're almost displacing the water and then the water's trying to push you, so you're bearing the rail too hard. Think about riding a bicycle. Your bicycle tire is round and your circled rail is also round. Now on the bicycle, when you gently lean over, you'll turn. Same way, if you drop into a wave and you just gently lean your weight over, you can gauge how much speed you want and how much turn you want. But if you just drop hard into that bottom turn because you're getting overexcited, there's a very good chance that you're overcooking your bottom turn. So I would go into it slower and longer and smoother, and you'll find you'll have a lot more speed through the turn. Yeah.
Cool. Chris Grippo on YouTube. Can you talk about popping up and getting the front foot and back foot in the 45-degree position? I ask because as a regular foot surfer, I feel I don't pop it up naturally with my back foot at 45. This, I think, directly relates to people thinking a pop-up isn't what a pop-up is, and it's actually a walk-up. And so for the same guy that I was doing online with yesterday about having him practice his golf swing, what we learned from you of, hey man, lay on the floor and walk up to the other side of the room. He started to, I'm like, look at your feet. He's like, oh, they're pointed in the right direction. There you go. So don't pop up, crab, walk up forward like you're trying to run down the wave face and your feet are automatically in the right position.
Yeah. If you watch clips of Slater and McFanning and all those guys with great technique, the world champions, they're all trying to surf front on.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's kind of they're trying to get their shoulders to point where the nose of the board is going and not to stand side on like a crab.
Yeah.
So if you were to lie down and just try to, you know how the lifesavers, they they play flags where there'll be one flag and two guys have to lie down, stand up and get the flag.
Yeah.
None of those guys pop up.
No.
So from a lying position, they just go straight into a run.
Right.
So pretty much surfers need to do the same thing. Stop the pop-up. The reason why people pop up is because they have, when they're learning how to surf, they have poor posture. So they've got no body strength, and they're riding bad boards or whatever. So I think those pop-ups were designed for people who have very little sort of, let's call it technique and the right body strength conditioning to walk up from a paddling position.
Yes, I think totally right. Like that whole beginner spectrum of surfer, a lot of things that help a beginner surfer stand up on their first wave, that stuff gets cemented into habit, and none of it is right for later stages of surfing. What works immediately for a beginner needs to not be implemented for intermediate and advanced surfing.
Yeah, it's like putting training wheels on a bicycle. Yes, the kid might start feeling he's riding and twisting and getting confidence, but take the training wheels off. They actually haven't learned how to handle speed and start leaning, turning left and turning right. So, yeah.
Cool. It's not a walk up. It's a pop, or it's not a pop up. It's a walk up.
Yep. Done.
What else? You got some more questions, man? We've got quite a few here still. Louise Dever, should I throw myself into closeouts? I do it for fun, and my friends think I'm crazy. Am I just looking for trouble and injury? Good question.
No, Louise, do it again and again and again and again, and see how long you can stay in that closeout for. And just before it kills you or squashes you, the softest place to be inside of a barrel at the closeout is the foam ball, because all the energy is being dispersed. So you can almost stall yourself into the foam ball. It'll probably pull you down and around and out the back. Where you don't want to be in the closeout is where the lip is landing in front of you.
Yeah.
So the deeper you are in that closeout barrel, the safer it is. The more on the shoulder you are, where kind of the lips guillotining down, that's where it's going to break your ball and push you. So you need to figure out how deep can I go. And in actual fact, you'll get to a point where the foam ball will start lifting you up like a helicopter and then push you out of the barrel. That is heaven.
So that's like what you were telling me at Greenbush. When we were surfing Greenbush, you're like, kick the board out in front of you and just kind of pin drop through like the foam ball almost too, or like try, rather than, I was like going out into the flats to try to escape that fucked up second section. Yeah, okay, no, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. Because when I think Twiggy and I were doing one, I got a question a while back, like how should I bail trying to like do these barrel wave things? That's brilliant, man, because nobody ever talks about, when you start trying to surf more critical shit, nobody ever talks about how to exit it or how to bail properly on those heavier style waves. That's good to know. Cool. Yeah. What else? You got any other ones you want to answer? Here's one. Mark Chapman. Mark Chapman on YouTube. Where can we buy or order Clayton Spine Tech surfboards in Asia, specifically Bali and Thailand? Is that even possible, bro?
You're not going to be able to buy them in Asia. You're going to have to just get them from me and get someone to bring it across from South Africa. I do have a company that makes it in Spain and Australia. So these three countries that make my boards. It is licensed out to Channel Islands, and they have the rights to kind of make it internationally. Although I did the whole design thing with Shapers, we did sort of sell that onto Channel Islands. They have full rights to it.
Yeah, right on. How did the Spine Tech thing come about, man? Curiosity, like this is my personal curiosity. Like was it where did it come from? Like what other industry was using that material, or how did the idea even start?
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you what industry was using it.
All right.
I can tell you how I got into it.
Yeah.
So I was trying to ride some stringerless PE boards just to feel more flex and stuff. And when I rode them, they just felt like, they felt terrible. It was almost like riding a soft board where they wobble under your feet. And I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then Len said, hey, we've got this material lying around. Do you think you could do anything with it?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, I'll give it a go. So he said, okay, how about we put into a PE board? So I stuck it in a PE board and it felt exactly like a string. I said, hey, I can't tell the difference. Feels the same. So they said, hey, my friend down the coast is going to cut some polystyrene blanks and we can do an epoxy version of it. Do you want to give it a go? So I was like, yeah, by all means. So I did a design file, had the blank cut, he brought it back, and I dropped a Spine Tech into that. Had a surf on it, and I was like, jing, magic board. Like one of the best boards I've ever had.
Yeah.
So I went back and said, hey, I really think there's something good here. So after that, I did another 12 boards, and of those 12, I had 10 magic boards. And those magic boards don't come around often, like maybe one every year or two every year. And I had, out of a batch of 12, I had personally 10. And of the 2 that I didn't like, I sold those to my mates, and they were their magic boards. So that means it was a 12 out of 12 success rate for magic boards. So I was like, guys, we're onto something really special here. Then we had to figure out how to go to market with it, because how far off the nose does it go? How far off the tail does it go? So we had to get it right so that it can go to mass market where everyone can use it. So we had to make jigs for it. We had to figure out how thick to make it, how wide to make it. And there's all those like teething problems. And then it was a case, well, who do we sell it to? So the guys from Shapers had a good relationship with the boys from Channel Islands, and they're really good guys. So yeah, one thing led to another. They got offered it, and yeah, they've been running with it ever since, and it's been really successful for them.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, your boards with the epoxy spine techs, like, mind you, I mean, they're the best boards I've ever been on, but mind you, I've been kind of under your wing in terms of my surfing development for years now. So I think the combination of like an actual really good surfboard and figuring out how to actually surf has kind of been a good combo.
Yeah, so a lot of people make the mistake thinking that by upgrading and getting a really high performance surfboard is going to make them surf better.
Right.
All that happens is that the board reacts to their body faster. So if they got poor technique, it's reacting to the poor technique quicker. But if they got good technique, it's reacting to the good technique quicker.
Yeah.
Which then makes them a better surfer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be careful with rushing out thinking that a really high-end performance board is going to make you a better surfer. If you've got good technique, yes, it will highlight all the good technique, but it'll also highlight the bad. And I've also had a question about surf skate training.
Yeah.
Where the same principles apply. I see so many guys get on surf skateboards, they're just like wiggling. They're like, oh, I'm generating so much speed, I'm going really fast. In the street, not even down a hill. So what happens then is those same people jump into the water. They don't even drop into the wave. They just go mid-face. And they just start like, ba, 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 ba.
Yeah.
And it looks really, really ugly.
Yeah.
The best guys are the guys who are surfing effortlessly, and the ones who are not using their body but utilizing their wave for their speed and power and flow. And only when it's necessary will they actually use their body to create some speed or drive or momentum. But it's not just body. It's more about trying to interact with the wave and the wave's energy.
So what you're saying is you have a thing for anybody to come buy surfboards from you, what they should do is come spend a weekend with you for individual coaching, and then they can get a custom surfboard from you.
Yeah, because if you don't know how to surf correctly with the right technique, you'd probably have to get a less responsive board so it doesn't react to the bad, but it also doesn't react well to the good. But if you had really good technique, we could actually sell you a way better board, which would react to just the good technique.
Yeah. Coaching and then get a new surfboard. It's a hell of a combo. There's not many surf or shapers out in the world, or at least there's no shapers on the Gold Coast that you can come actually get coaching from and then get a board custom shaped. That's a deal, bro. That should be like, that's your combo package. Come spend a weekend with Clay and get a new surfboard.
I actually made this stems years back, where I made a board for a guy, and I was pretty proud of it. Just slogging in the bay, hand shaping, dust in the eyes, and then give him his board. He comes back. I saw him about 2 weeks later. I was like, "How's the board go?" He's like, "Oh, it's a piece of crap. Worst board ever." So then you're racking your brain.
You would have been so bummed out, huh? So bummed out.
It freaks you out because, well, where in the process did I go wrong? So anyway, I went down to the beach and watched him surf. And I was like, "Oh my god!"
That's where the process went wrong. The guy surfing,
communication, and that's when I started to watch people's body language when they described to me how they surfed. People that would gesture with their hands, and you can actually see their hands going rail to rail, understood the concept. People that were flat didn't know how to surf. So I kind of figured out who surfed on rail, who didn't surf on rail, and it almost got me into the whole coaching thing, just trying to understand people, their body language, and where their minds are at, so I could make them better boards and stop them lying to me to try to get a better board.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can personally speak from firsthand experience. It's the most phenomenal coaching I've ever seen in terms of surfing. And I've seen it now work with clients for 5 years of coaching trips. For anybody that is East Coast, are you still able to, you guys are able to coach in person. How can people get in touch with you for coaching?
Yeah, you can direct message me on Instagram, you contact me on Facebook, or you could email me on claytonsurf@hotmail.com, which is like an ancient address.
Yeah, dude. What are you doing?
But our Amanzi site is going to be up and running within about a week's time.
Yeah, cool.
You would be able to directly contact me through Amanzi and book sessions. I do skate sessions in the afternoon where we do technique training, and I do surf sessions in the morning where it's about teaching people about interacting with waves and power zones and reading conditions and so on.
Cool.
And for those of you who can't get to us, we do cover all of these on the Amanzi site, where we've got, I think, these 8 coaching programs, and it runs through basically everything from beginner level right to advanced surfing.
Cool. You got any other questions in front of you want to answer?
No, I think we are done.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have got one here.
Yeah.
I didn't write down the guy's name, but it says, "How do we create power in mushy waves?"
Good question.
Which is a really good question. So, the first thing you want to do is be light on your feet. As soon as you start pushing too hard, you're bearing yourself into the water. The other thing on your equipment side, if you rode boxier rails, when you push down, it would pop up quicker. So you'd fly over sections. If you got a low rail, when you push down, they're going to bog down. A little bit more width will help you carry through the flat sections a lot better. But the more important thing is to not race out into the flats. Try to stay as close to the foam as possible, because theoretically you could almost prone and ride that foam to the beach. So on those weaker waves where they're flatter, the foam is your source of power. So you're almost going to have to cut back, stay with the source of power, rebound with the foam. And you're just continuously tagging the foam until it hits a shallow of a bank where it stands up and you can actually tag the lip. But it's almost just a continuous case of doing a figure 8, tag the foam, staying with the power, and not over push and bury your board too much.
Yeah. It was always me, having now spent some time in Indonesia and then considering my upbringing in Florida and a bunch of shitty surf in Florida, although Florida can get good. It's always incredibly impressive to see somebody be able to surf crappy surf really well. Like, it's absolutely blows my mind still to this day of somebody being able to shred shitty weak surf.
I've been more impressed in general with body movement. Like, I'll go to the skate park and watch someone do something effortless, and then you watch other kids trying so much harder to do the same thing and not get it right.
Yeah.
And you see them fighting too, where guys just move, that they're fluid in their movements. And it's the same as watching Rob Machado surf, how fluid he is in his movements. And when I've been trying to surf more fluidly, I find that my turns get bigger and I get paid a lot more compliments.
Yeah.
But when I get excited sometimes and I over try and I bug it, I get people laughing at me going, "Ha ha, you cooked it." So
do you
there's
think?
something to be.
Go ahead. No, finish it.
Just that something to be said for people that understand their bodies and how it works and functions and moves.
Yeah. With that, do you think that Machado and, insert any other surfer, do you think they had to go through a stage of overcooking and trying too hard, like they almost had to feel the too far end of the spectrum to finally be like, oh yes, I can refine and lighten things up. Like it's almost a natural stage of progress, like in martial arts, right? Like before anything, right? Any field, you keep adding complexity and detail and intensity till you get to the other side of that and realize, oh, the complexity, you just need to dial things back to the basics and softer and easier. So it's almost like you think people have to go
less
through
is
that.
more.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So think of the WSL, the guys who are not doing well. So the bottom end of the 44. Look how hard they try, and their surfing is kind of shitty in force. And then there's the guys on the top end of the spectrum. They're not even trying, and it's just they're coming out of the water going, "Oh, that was so much fun."
Yeah.
So there's something in also not trying too hard and having fun and feeling it, as opposed to trying to impose your will on the wave, trying to get stuff done when sometimes it doesn't allow for it.
And then that goes directly back to this whole coaching thing that their development of your surfing has to largely be play based and fun, and then still little interjections of focused effort and trying new things. But it's that whole play aspect and fun aspect that's going to help develop the surfing overall. It's a hard thing because a lot of type A driven individuals are like, fuck, I'm going to get good at surfing and I'm going to approach this the way I approached my law degree and the way I approached my medical degree and, push hard, drive, more detail, learn. And that just isn't quite how surfing works.
Probably if you want to learn how to surf or do something sort of outside of your current spectrum of understanding, you've got to put your ego aside and you just got to be humble. And when you make mistakes, you just got to laugh at them.
Yeah.
And then it's fun. It's, like I said, people forget how to play. The ego gets in the way and they get upset. And then you can't actually break through. You almost got to leave them to cool off and hopefully they simmer down and then you can go back and actually maybe have a breakthrough.
Yeah. Yeah, this constant steps forward, regress, play, step forward, regress, play, and then try not to get overwhelmed with the frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right on. So when people are going to most definitely ask, surf trips, man, for this year. So we've had to cancel Nicaragua. You and I can't really fly out of Australia at the moment. November, we'll see. What do you reckon for next year, man? You've asked me about doing Fiji.
Well, I thought that Fiji is going to potentially open up as a destination, but it's definitely not intermediate. It's more higher intermediate, just because it's not as forgiving as some of the Mentawais waves. It's a lot heavier, a lot harder. So when it's small, it just shuts down and closes out. When it's big, it's scary. But when it's a medium size, it's beautiful. It's fun and it's perfect. So we are going to, if we do go there, we'd need a higher caliber of surfer going there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And then hopefully by at least next January when you and I are at Macaroni's, hopefully we can go to Macaroni's and leave Australia by that point. So we shall see.
Yeah, so from what I understand, I think Australians might be able to travel. It's just if there's other countries who still have COVID cases, they won't be allowed to come to Australia. So it's more about the who's coming in than who's going out.
And quarantining and yeah. So we shall see. Do you have anything to add? For anybody that's asking, you can check out Clay's Cardboard Surfer in the Surf Athlete app right now, or you can head to his Amanzi website. You got anything else you want to add, bro? I appreciate the time. Anything else, dude?
Yeah, just the whole Amanzi thing has probably been about 15 years of my life, just and you know how obsessive I am. I'm
Mm.
kind of, all I know is surfing and surf coaching. I don't actually have much scope outside of that realm, like computers or simple dialect. So it's what I wish I had had when I was learning how to surf, because I had a pro career where I tried too hard, made a lot of mistakes along the way. And had I known this stuff, I would have fast tracked things and I would have had way more enjoyment. So I
Well,
kind of want to share all that knowledge.
yeah, yeah. And I think you do an exceptional job doing that. And it's, again, this distillation of all your years of trying too hard and being a shaper and seeing professional surfers and coaching professional surfers. But it's giving people an opportunity to feel what they need to do in the water. And so instead of them trying to just figure it out on the weekend in some shitty weekend surf with hundreds of other surfers on the 5 seconds on top of a wave, all your programs are an opportunity for people to feel better positioning and more optimal movement patterns, and then they can take it to their time in the water.
I also think a lot of surfers think that the fix is a difficult one, when in actual fact it's so simple and so easy.
Mm-hmm.
It may just be a case of keeping your back straight or keeping your chin up or looking where you're going. So we sell awareness. We compare it to simple, easy day movements like pass a cup of coffee or
Yeah.
pour the coffee out to the left, pour it to the right.
Yeah.
And all of those things that we can do, when you take it into the water and you do it, you'll be surprised how easy it is.
Yes.
And that's what we want. We want to make surfing easier so more people can enjoy it. Take the frustration out of surfing.
Because, man, it can be intensely frustrating. Holy shit, I still get sick. I wanted to add about coaching trips. You and I really should do some East Coast weekend coaching trips or something. So I had told you I went to a while back, I had gone to do a buddy's birthday or something. It was in the Crescent Head area. And we had like rented out a house. We could easily do some like kind of weekend coaching retreats with a group of cool dudes somewhere along the coast. So that would be awesome at some point before we before end of the year.
I'd be frothing for that. Just
Yeah.
kind of like a shorter period of time, just like an intense weekend or something where we just give people an awareness and allow them to feel it so they can go and actually try it on their own and have some fun with it.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
I think it'd be rad, man. If we could either do like, this is you and I spitballing in the view of everybody on the internet at the moment, but we could either do like an all-inclusive where people come stay in a house collectively, like it'd be on bedrooms and stuff, and we could bring in a buddy, like a chef, and then we just surf and skate and do shit for the weekend. Or it could be like, hey, it could be a non-all-inclusive where we're just somewhere for a weekend. Hey guys, meet in this car parking lot at 7 a.m. for, there's a couple ways we could go at it. I think an all-inclusive one would be epic, man. Bring in a chef, just chill, surf, eat.
How many guys do you know that have spent like hundreds of dollars on surfboards and probably bought the wrong equipment?
Thousands of dollars, man.
And hang on, then they've spent thousands of dollars going on surf trips and not caught the waves that they wanted to catch and not maximize that. So what we should do, just have a weekend away where it won't cost thousands, maybe just a couple hundred, whereby we teach you about surfboards, teach you about your equipment. We cover waves and power zones, maybe do some body surfing, bodyboarding, and just make you a waterman, give you an understanding. So the next time you buy a board, you actually don't waste money. Or the next time you go on a surf trip, you actually catch a shitload more waves and have more fun.
Yeah, I think it sounds sick. If anybody out in the internet world is seeing this and you watched the last hour and 28 minutes of Clayton and I talking, let us know if you're interested in a trip like that, and we can start making something happen. We'll start putting some organization together for it. And outside of that, that's all I got. What else you got, man? Let's do this in another like week or two. Again, everybody check out Clay's website, check out my app, all of that. Hope to see you on a surf coaching trip at some point. Are you doing online video coaching yet?
I'm still wrapping my head around it. Yes, I am doing it.
You
can do Zoom chats or Skype chats. Preferably send me a short video clip, and I'd be happy to analyze it and kind of give you a couple of fixes what I think should work for you. But yeah, definitely happy to do that.
Cool. Cool, man. If nothing else to add, I'll let you get on with your day. I appreciate it. Everybody that watched, thank you. Super cool.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah,
Thanks,
dude.
everyone.
You.